Today on BRStv Investigates, we're starting something brand new with tank trials. Hi, I'm Ryan, your host of BRStv Investigates, where we put reefing products, methods, and systems to the test. This week, we're starting the next evolution of that with tank trials. We're going to take everything that we've learned about reefing, develop some methods and theories, put them to the test in a real tank environment, and follow the progress of each system, showing real-world results of different approaches to reefing. Our hobby's filled with anecdotal stories of this worked for me, that didn't, and we almost never get to see the real story behind these tanks, what they actually look like, or experience the entire story of this tank. This is what tank trials is all about, showing you the legit, long-term results of very detailed, well-researched, and even debated approaches to reefing. We're planning to look at all kinds of different tank types and approaches, from species-specific tanks like seahorses to NPS tanks, and approaches to reefing like setting up the cheapest tanks humanly possible and showing the awesome long-term results you can obtain with very little investment, as well as those tricked-out dream tanks. We're going to kick this all off with what I'm going to start referring to as a ULM tank, meaning ultra low maintenance. We're going to take everything the entire team at BRS knows, blend that with the YouTube and Reef to Reef community input, and try and build some systems that are designed to be the most effortless, successful tank designs possible, so we can spend more time enjoying our tanks and less time working on them. Now, I realize that ultra low maintenance might not be a priority for everyone, but I think that's going to be the most awesome part of the entire tank trial series. The eternal debate of the best method of reefing is really just based on our individual space, time, budget, and unique desires for our tanks. What's best changes with our individual goals over time. I think the tank trials is going to have something for everyone as we explore reefing from all kinds of angles and not just chase the mythical white whale of what's best for everyone, but what's best for specific reefers, application, budgets, or desires. That also means starting with our ULM series, we're not just going to set up a single ultra-low maintenance tank. We're going to set up 3 different versions with a Softies Polyps tank, an LPS tank, and an SPS tank, because each of these tank types require a completely different approach and amount of effort to be successful. I think this is important because when one of us says, hey, I had a lot of success with this method or approach, it has a lot more meaning if we know that success is tied to the type of tank that you may actually be trying to build. Even though they all look equally awesome in their own rights, many of the methods that work on a tank full of mushrooms, zoanthids, and xenia just don't apply to an SPS dominant tank. So why ULM tanks is our first tank trial? Well, there's just a lot of discussion going on about the value of water changes and are they required for today's reefing methods. We have the BRS-160 running on the Triton method, which is one of those approaches, but I think there are others. So with this series, we're going to look at every single component of our system design and maintenance habits from a single vantage point. How can I make this system as autonomous and self-sustaining as possible? I basically want to go on a month-long vacation and come back to a tank which looks better than when I left. We'll always have a tank sitter of some sort in a case like that, but I'd actually rather they don't touch anything and they're only there as a backup to an emergency. Now, some of you might be saying not touching the tank for something like a month is either impossible or at least irresponsible, but I ask that you wait and see how this all pans out and what the BRS team and reefing community comes up with. We'll of course adapt and apply maintenance when needed, but I think this is going to produce some awesome results for everyone who wants an awesome reef tank in their home that everyone in the household loves, but also wants their weekends back. So to give everyone a preview of what's to come, we're going to look at a specific element of the tank each week, discuss which options qualify as low maintenance, review what the reefing community on YouTube and Reef to Reef suggested, and then select the one that we think is best for each tank type with 3 separate Softies Polyp, LPS, and SPS tanks. Starting with selecting the right tank for a ULM sump design, ULM plumbing and return pumps, ULM rock and sand, ULM water and salt solutions, ULM controller setup, ULM auto top-off solutions, ULM flow, ULM calcium and alkalinity, ULM lighting, ULM feeding, ULM fish and cleanup crew, ULM corals and mounting, ULM testing, ULM ongoing maintenance, ULM power supply, and then just watch how all these individual tanks take off. But most importantly, reviewing not just the successes, but also the challenges and missteps along the way, and adjusting with the goal of producing a ULM method anyone can follow and expect to achieve the same results. So I think the most fun component of this will actually not be the video series itself, but we're going to make one giant build thread out of this over on Reef to Reef as well. This is where the community gets to share their thoughts on our approach, and I certainly hope helps us shape it or be a component of overcoming challenges we encounter. So if you're really into reefing, I think Reef to Reef is where the most interesting component of this story is going to happen. So to start this off, I have two questions for the reefing YouTube and Reef to Reef community. To me, ultra low maintenance means first and foremost, I'm not doing anything unnecessary, but outside of that, I'm also using methods, gear, and approaches which reduce the amount of daily, weekly, and monthly touch points. So the first question is, what does ultra low maintenance mean to you, and what do you hope to see related to that? Second question is, next week we're going to kick this all off by selecting the right tanks for this project, so we want to hear from you. What sizes, brand, or shape of tank do you think qualifies as a starting point for a ULM? Meaning our water change is easy to do. Is it large enough to be stable? Because stable inherently means limited interaction. What is the right depth from a maintenance consideration? Back integrated sump versus traditional sumps? All-in-one or package tanks? Anything related to clean the glass or back of the tank? Acrylic versus glass tanks? Rimless, stands, or hood availability? Or size and ability to hold desirable low maintenance equipment? I mean, anything related to the tank selection you might consider a ULM element. The team here at BRS is debating all these elements right now. Any feedback and discussion over the next couple days will be incorporated into our selection in next week's episode. As always, the link to the Reef to Reef thread is down below. If you want to see where the tank trials take us, hit that subscribe button because there will be a new episode every Friday. If you want to let us know that we're on the right path, let us know with that quick thumbs up. See you next week with another episode of Tank Trials.